Here's what you'll get in the next few minutes. A simple rule to tell if AT205 can help your leak, the exact symptoms that say don't bother, and how to avoid the stop leak products that clog. We'll compare rubber restorers versus seal swellers, show how user anecdotes can mislead, and walk through a quick driveway diagnostic to confirm your leak type. If you've ever wondered whether this additive can actually save you thousands, or just delay the inevitable, you'll have a clear, testable answer by the end. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If 9 out of 10 mechanic in a can bottles deserve the trash, what separates the one that sometimes earns its keep? Start by splitting the aisle into two groups. On one side, you've got stop leak cloggers that rely on solids or heavy thickeners to slow a leak by physically blocking a pathway. On the other, rubber restorers that target elastomers, the actual seal materials, trying to revive flexibility so the seal can do its job again. Both claim to stop leaks, but they play two completely different games. You hear glowing stories about every product out there, while mechanics warn these same bottles can wreck engines. Both perspectives exist because the mechanisms aren't the same. Particulate-based stop leaks don't know the difference between a pinhole and an oil gallery. If those particles lodge in a tiny passage or on an oil pump screen, you're trading a drip on the driveway for oil starvation inside the engine. Restorers aim at the seal itself, not the passage, so the risk profile changes. Here's how the chemistry diverges. The cloggers use particulates or swelling agents. The particulates try to gather at seep points and create a dam. Swellers, often petroleum distillates, make rubber puff up. That can plug a path for a short time, but the side effect is nasty. Once the swelling fades, the rubber can turn brittle and crack. Restorers use plasticizers that migrate into the elastomer, soften it slightly, and increase flexibility without forcing it to balloon. Cooling systems show the same split. Radiator stop leak can gum up a heater core or narrow tubes, which is why people end up replacing components downstream. Contrast that with something like AT205, which markets itself as a seal conditioner. The claim isn't "we swell it shut," it's "we make the rubber behave like rubber again." That difference matters when you have small passages everywhere that must stay clear. Look at compatibility and formulas. Effective restorers avoid solids entirely and pay attention to seal materials like nitrile and Viton. They try to work within those polymers' chemistry. Cheap bottles lean on generic petroleum distillates. You might see a quick fix, but you also set a fuse for embrittlement. That's where the long-term failures come from. Now the classic anecdote. A rear main leak slows after 250 miles. Did a plasticizer bring a hardened lip back to life? Or did a swelling agent choke the path just enough to hide the drip? The outcome looks the same on the floor, but inside the engine, those paths carry oil to bearings. One route is reversible and targeted. The other is indiscriminate. We'll make this practical with a driveway check that tells you which camp your leak belongs to. The takeaway for now is simple. Products meant to condition elastomers and free of solids belong in the maybe column. The rest risk clogging what you can't afford to clog. Now let's see if your specific leak lands in that maybe column or if your money is better left in your pocket. Before you pour anything in, use one simple rule to predict the outcome. Soft leaks from intact rubber can respond. Hard failures from broken parts won't. That's it. If the seep comes from a seal lip that's dried and shrunk, you've got a shot. If the leak tracks to a shifted gasket, a warped cover, or metal-to-metal contact, no additive can bridge the gap. The tricky part is they all look the same on the ground. A nickel-sized spot under the car could mean a tired front main seal, a weeping pan gasket, or a cracked housing. Same puddle, opposite solutions. You need to find the exact origin, not the neighborhood. Here's the 60-second test that guides your decision. First, clean the area with brake cleaner or degreaser so old residue doesn't mislead you. Add a UV dye formulated for engine oil. Drive for 15 to 30 minutes to circulate it through the galleries and around the seals. Then, with the engine off, use a UV flashlight and scan slowly. You're looking for the first point where the fluorescent trace appears. If the glow begins at the lip of a round seal, you're seeing a seep from rubber. If it starts along a straight seam or from a casting pore, that points to a gasket edge or porous housing. Pattern reading makes this faster. A circular mist flung outward around the crank pulley usually means a front main seal letting vapor past at speed. A drip from the bell housing after a highway run often traces back to a rear main seal that seeps under sustained load. A straight, glowing line along the pan rail marks an oil pan gasket. Each pattern tells you what's failing and how to proceed. Watch for red flags that tell you to skip additives entirely. A torn gasket you can see along the edge? Loose pan bolts that won't hold torque? A cracked cover or timing case? Those demand tools, not chemicals. Strong blow-by is another deal breaker. If removing the oil cap produces pulsing vapor or the dipstick tube pushes fumes, excessive crankcase pressure is forcing oil past seals. Until you fix the ventilation issue, no conditioner will hold. Compatibility matters. Conditioners work when the rubber is still present but hardened or shrunken. They fail when chunks are missing, the lip is cut, or the surface is chemically eaten. The dye line tells the story. A thin ring at the seal lip suggests aging rubber. A broad smear across a seam hints at a seating problem. A pinpoint on a casting face suggests a crack or porosity. Real-world results mirror this rule. One viewer with a light rear main seep saw a gradual reduction after several heat cycles and normal driving. Another with a split cam seal saw no change at all. That's not luck. That's the material state dictating the outcome. If your UV check shows a seep at an intact rubber seal, you've got a legitimate candidate. If you find structural damage or pressure issues, save your money. Now, if your test says you're a candidate, the next step is understanding why some engines respond quickly while others barely budge. Two cars, same drip on the driveway, same bottle in the hand. One dries up, the other keeps bleeding. What changed? Not the additive. The chemistry under the hood did. Seals aren't all the same. Many older engines use nitrile for rear main and cam seals. It's affordable and seals well, but it hardens with heat and time, which makes it more responsive to gentle plasticizers. Viton, common in newer powertrains, resists heat and chemicals better, so it doesn't respond as dramatically to mild conditioners. Silicone stays flexible in the cold and handles heat, yet it can swell or soften when hit with the wrong petroleum-heavy mix. The additive's effect hinges on that elastomer matchup. Then heat exposure shapes the outcome. A seal parked near a turbo or catalytic converter sees higher sump and housing temps. And once heat has cooked the polymer to the point of brittleness, no light conditioning will reverse the damage. Oil chemistry adds another layer. Modern base oils and detergents can either help the plasticizer migrate into the seal or wash it away faster than it can work. That's why two identical leaks diverge. A formula designed to condition certain rubber might barely move the needle on another compound. High-heat turbo engines often age seals past the point of recovery. Even if the leak source is a seal lip, the material might be so heat-cycled that it won't rebound. Engine health pushes the result further. A healthy PCV system keeps crankcase pressure low so the seal isn't fighting a pressure gradient. If the valve sticks or the hoses clog, blow-by raises pressure and forces oil past even a conditioned lip. Oil viscosity matters too. Thinner oil at high temperatures slips through tighter clearances, making a borderline seal look worse. Long service intervals load the oil with fuel dilution and acids, changing how any conditioner interacts and reducing dwell time on the rubber. Contrast two real scenarios. An older naturally aspirated engine with a nitrile rear main, moderate sump temperatures, and regular oil changes often responds to a mild plasticizer because the seal is intact but hardened. A modern direct injection turbo running higher sump temps and extended drains bakes seals harder, and the same dose does little. Anecdotes miss these variables. Most testimonials don't mention seal compound, engine layout, or whether the PCV is healthy. Survivorship bias favors the wins you hear and hides the misses that ended with a gasket job. You can cut risk by reading the safety data sheet. Additives that avoid solids and aggressive swelling agents reduce the chance of clogging passages. A transparent SDS that lists solvents and plasticizers, not vague petroleum distillates, signals a targeted approach. Still, don't stack bottles. Overdosing or mixing multiple additives can thicken oil, dilute detergents, and nudge the balance away from what the engine's additive package was designed to deliver. Diagnosis beats belief. Conditioned rubber can seal. Broken parts can't. So verify your leak first. Add UV dye. Trace the first glow, and confirm it originates at an intact seal. Check PCV health so crankcase pressure isn't pushing oil past the lip. Then read the SDS. Avoid vague petroleum distillates and anything with solids. If your test points to a true seal seep, decide. A small bottle costs little. Major repairs don't. Share your results below with your engine, mileage, and what changed after a few heat cycles. Next time, we'll put PEA fuel cleaners under the same lens. Chemistry first, hype nowhere.